Eva sat quietly in the lawyer's office, her hands tightly clasped, her heart still raw from the loss of her husband, Lucas. Across the table, Gloria, Lucas's mother, sat with an air of smug confidence, her lips curled into a knowing smile. She was certain of one thing: everything was about to be hers. After all, she had spent years controlling Lucas, and now, she expected to collect her reward. "I told you," Gloria murmured, glancing at Eva with an almost mocking gaze, "everything belongs to me." The lawyer adjusted his glasses and began reading the will. Gloria's eyes gleamed, convinced that the moment she had been waiting for had finally arrived. But then, the lawyer paused, cleared his throat, and added, "To his beloved wife, Eva, he leaves everything, our home, our savings, and all personal assets." Gloria's confident smirk faltered slightly. She quickly tried to regain her composure, but Eva could see the flicker of doubt in her eyes. The lawyer continued, his voice steady and professional. "And to his mother, Gloria. Lucas left a special message." The room grew heavy with tension as Gloria reached for the letter, her hand trembling slightly. She unfolded it, her eyes scanning the words that would change everything. Eva leaned in, her breath caught in her chest. But as Gloria read, her face twisted with fury. The smug confidence drained from her expression. Her lips moved, but no words came out. She slammed the letter down onto the table. This can't be real." Gloria spat, her voice shaking with anger. The lawyer calmly responded, "Your son was of sound mind when he wrote this." Eva felt a wave of vindication flood over her. She glanced at the letter, which now lay in front of her, the final words from Lucas revealing the truth, Gloria, you never controlled me, and you will not control her. Everything I have goes to Eva, the woman who stood by me when you never did. Eva's hands trembled as she picked up the letter, her heart swelling with pride for Lucas. He had protected her, even from beyond the grave. Gloria, however, was seething. "This isn't over," she hissed, standing up abruptly, her chair scraping across the floor. "I'll fight this. I'll take you to court." Eva remained calm, meeting Gloria's furious gaze. "No, Gloria. You've lost." Gloria stormed out of the office, slamming the door behind her. Eva sat there, the weight of the moment settling in. Lucas had done it. He had finally stood up to her. But Eva knew this wouldn't be the last she'd hear from Gloria. Eva and Lucas had built a life together that many would envy. Their love was one of resilience, born from years of overcoming obstacles, most of which came from an unexpected source, Gloria. From the first day Eva met her, it was clear that Gloria would never accept her. No matter how hard she tried, no matter how kind she was, Gloria saw Eva as a threat, a woman who had come to take away the son she had spent her life controlling. Lucas, caught between the woman he loved and the woman who had always been there, spent years trying to please both. Eva never stood in the way of their relationship, she understood the bond between a mother and her child. But it wasn't just the love that kept Lucas tethered to his mother, it was the constant need for approval that Gloria had ingrained in him from an early age. No matter how successful Lucas became, no matter how much they had built together, Gloria's words always cut through it all, leaving him questioning whether he had ever truly been good enough. "You're only after his money," she would say, as if their entire life together was built on nothing more than greed. Eva had never wanted Lucas for his wealth. She loved him for who he was, the man who supported her, who made her laugh, and who shared her dreams. But Gloria never saw that. She saw a woman who had managed to pull Lucas away from her control, and for that, she never forgave her. As the years passed, Eva learned to live with the tension. She would comfort Lucas when Gloria's words left him defeated, reassuring him that she loved him not for his money, but for the person he was. Despite all the manipulation, there was still a part of him that longed for his mother's approval. Lucas's love for his mother never wavered, and Eva had to watch, helpless, as Gloria continued to wield her power over him. Their life wasn't perfect, no marriage is, but they had built something real. They bought their first home together, a place filled with memories and laughter, where they'd dream about the future. Yet, no matter how much they had accomplished, the shadow of Gloria loomed large. She always had a way of making Lucas feel small, of making him doubt himself, but somehow, he always came back to her, desperate for a love that was never truly given. Eva accepted this, because she knew it wasn't Lucas's fault. He had spent his whole life trying to win his mother's affection, and no matter how hard he tried, it was never enough. Then, 6 months ago, everything changed. Lucas's battle with illness had become a battle for time, not just for life. They had time to prepare, to talk about things that had always been left unsaid. He had made sure his affairs were in order, knowing exactly what would come after his death. Lucas knew Gloria would fight for everything he had. He knew his mother. She wouldn't let him go quietly. And so, he made the decision to leave it all to Eva. He made sure that even in his absence, his love for her was clear. Before I share what happened next, the moment that left an entire room of journalists in stunned silence, I want to connect with you, my amazing viewers. Where are you watching from? Drop your country's flag in the comments below. And if you've ever had to fight for something you believe in, hit that like button, because this story is just getting started. Gloria's reaction was nothing short of explosive. As the lawyer finished reading the will, the room fell silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Eva could feel the tension crackling between them, the moment everything would change. She had prepared herself for this, but nothing could have prepared her for the fury that erupted in Gloria's eyes. To my beloved wife, Eva, I leave everything, our home, our savings, and all personal assets. The lawyer's voice echoed through the room, each word like a hammer, striking Gloria's pride. Eva could see her mother-in-law's hands tremble, her knuckles white as she gripped the edge of the table. The smug confidence that had once filled her was now replaced by a raw, palpable disbelief. What? Gloria's voice cracked, barely audible, as though she couldn't process what she was hearing. This is a mistake, she spat, the words coming out like venom. The lawyer, calm as ever, glanced at Gloria, his face unreadable. There's no mistake, Mrs. Caldwell. Lucas's wishes were clear. He continued, his eyes flicking back to the papers in front of him. And to his mother, Gloria, he left a special message. Eva's heart began to race as she watched Gloria's expression shift from anger to confusion, and then, to something darker, something colder. Gloria grabbed the letter, her fingers shaking violently, as if she couldn't get her hands on the paper fast enough. She unfolded it, reading the words with a growing sense of panic, her lips moving but no sound escaping. Eva couldn't help but lean forward, her breath caught in her throat. She had no idea what Lucas had written, but she knew it would be something Gloria would never forget. Gloria's face turned from shock to fury, her eyes narrowing, her lips curling into a sneer. This is ridiculous. Gloria hissed, throwing the letter down onto the table as if it were some kind of betrayal. You think I'm going to just accept this? After everything I've done for him? Eva could feel the heat rising in her chest, the satisfaction of knowing Lucas had finally taken a stand against the woman who had tormented him for so long. She glanced at the lawyer, who remained calm, his gaze steady and unwavering. He had seen this before. He knew exactly how this would play out. Lucas wanted to make sure his final words were clear, the lawyer said, his tone measured, as though he were speaking to a child who had just thrown a tantrum. And as per his instructions, you have been left with nothing, Mrs. Caldwell. Gloria recoiled as if struck, her face twisting with rage. This isn't over, she spat, her voice low and menacing. I will fight this. I'll take you both to court. I'll make sure this will is torn apart piece by piece. Eva could feel the weight of Gloria's gaze as it burned into her, filled with contempt and disbelief. But Eva stood tall, her voice steady and sure. No, Gloria. It's over. Lucas made his choice, and there's nothing you can do about it. Gloria's hands were shaking now, her fists clenched at her sides. She stood up so fast that the chair nearly tipped over, her eyes wild with fury. You think you've won? She snarled, her voice dripping with venom. You think I'm just going to walk away? I will make sure you regret this. With a final, spiteful glance, Gloria stormed out of the office, slamming the door behind her with a force that shook the room. The air was thick with the remnants of her rage, but Eva didn't move. She sat there, her hands still trembling slightly, but her heart was light. For the first time in years, the weight of Gloria's presence was no longer hanging over her, no longer controlling her every move. The lawyer turned to Eva, his face still calm. "It's over, Mrs. Caldwell," he said softly, but there was a certain finality in his voice. "Lucas's wishes will be honored." Eva nodded, her throat tight with emotion. She had won, but she knew this was only the beginning. Gloria wouldn't let go easily, and Eva couldn't let her win. But for now, she allowed herself a moment of peace, knowing that Lucas had protected her, even in death. Eva held the letter in her hands, her fingers trembling as she unfolded it. For a moment, everything around her seemed to blur. She had been prepared for the possibility of Gloria's rage, but she hadn't expected this moment when Lucas's final words would come to life, a testament to his love and defiance. The silence in the room was deafening, broken only by the faint rustle of paper as Eva took in the words her late husband had left behind. "Gloria," the letter began, and Eva felt her heart tighten in her chest. She could almost hear Lucas's voice in the words, as if he were standing right beside her. "If you are reading this, I need you to understand something. I am not leaving you anything. Not because I hate you, but because I have finally found peace knowing that I built a life with someone who truly loved me, not for what I could offer, but for who I was." Eva could feel the heat in her chest, the sense of pride that swelled with each line she read. Lucas had finally found the strength to stand up to his mother, to speak the truth that had been buried for so long. Eva's eyes blurred with tears, but these were not tears of sorrow, they were tears of gratitude. She had always known Lucas loved her for who she was, but to see it laid out in such clear, unwavering terms, it was as if he had erased every doubt, every moment of insecurity she had ever felt. The letter continued, its words sharp and decisive, each one a reflection of Lucas's strength and clarity. "You spent my entire life trying to manipulate me, trying to make me feel like I was never good enough. But in my final moments, I found peace in knowing that I had built a life with someone who truly saw me. Not for my money, not for what I could give her, but for me. You never gave me that love. And because of that, I owe you nothing." Eva could feel Gloria's presence in the room even without looking at her. The anger was palpable, simmering just beneath the surface, but the truth in Lucas's words was undeniable. Gloria's entire world had been built on control, on keeping Lucas dependent on her love, and now that was being shattered. She had no power here. And the realization hit her hard. Eva didn't dare look at Gloria as she read the final lines, but she could sense the woman's fury growing with each passing word. Lucas had left nothing for her, no place for her in his final wishes. The bond between mother and son that Gloria had worked so tirelessly to maintain had crumbled, and in its place was the undeniable truth of Lucas's love for Eva. "You have nothing, Gloria. This house, this life, these things I built, everything belongs to Eva, the woman who stood by me when you never did. And that is all I leave you with. Nothing." The room was suffocating, heavy with the finality of those words. Eva's pulse quickened, her heart racing as she absorbed the weight of Lucas's decision. For so long, she had felt like an outsider in her own marriage, as if Gloria's shadow loomed over every moment. But now, with Lucas's final words, it was as though that shadow had finally been lifted. The years of manipulation, of emotional torment, gone, erased by the simple act of Lucas choosing her. Eva clutched the letter to her chest, the tears coming now, but they were tears of release, of freedom. Gloria, on the other hand, was still silent, her expression one of disbelief, her face pale with shock. The smugness, the arrogance that had filled her every word and action for so long, was gone. Her eyes were wide, her lips trembling as she tried to process the truth Lucas had left behind. "This is a joke," she muttered under her breath, but her voice lacked the usual venom. It was as if she were trying to convince herself more than anyone else. He didn't mean it. He couldn't have. Eva's grip tightened around the letter, a quiet sense of victory settling deep within her. Gloria could deny it all she wanted, but Lucas's words were final. There was no going back. For the first time, Eva felt the weight of Gloria's control lift off her shoulders, leaving behind a sense of peace she hadn't known was possible. Lucas meant every word, Eva said softly, her voice steady but filled with the conviction she had long buried. She didn't need to shout, the truth was loud enough. And I will honor his wishes. Gloria's gaze flickered toward her, her eyes filled with a mix of rage and disbelief, but there was no denying the truth any longer. Eva had won. Not through force, not through manipulation, but through love. And that was something Gloria could never take away. For the first time in years, Eva felt like she could breathe again. And she knew, with every fiber of her being, that Lucas had given her everything she needed, his love, his trust, and the courage to face the woman who had always tried to control them both. And as Gloria's furious gaze lingered, Eva knew that the battle was just beginning. But this time, she was ready. Because now, more than ever, she had something stronger than Gloria's cruelty, the truth. Gloria's outrage was immediate, a storm that couldn't be contained. The moment she stood up, her face twisted with fury, Eva could feel the shift in the air. This was only the beginning. Gloria's grip on control had been shattered, and she wasn't going to let that go without a fight. You think this is over? Gloria sneered, her voice thick with venom. You think you've won? You have no idea what you're dealing with, Eva. This isn't the end. Her words, though shaky, were laced with an intensity that chilled Eva to her core. Gloria's eyes flashed with a dangerous fire, the kind that came from years of getting what she wanted, no matter the cost. Eva braced herself, knowing that Gloria was far from finished. You really believe you can take everything from me? You'll regret this, Gloria spat, her breath quickening with rage. She turned to the lawyer, her eyes narrowing. You have no idea what kind of woman she is. She's been poisoning Lucas against me for years, manipulating him into thinking I didn't care, that I didn't love him. Eva's stomach turned at Gloria's words. She had spent years being the supportive wife, never standing in the way of their relationship, even when it felt like Lucas was being torn between her and his mother. But Gloria's accusations were a reminder of the twisted narrative she had been telling herself for years. I didn't poison anyone, Eva replied, her voice steady but filled with the weight of everything she had endured. You did this to yourself, Gloria. You're the one who controlled him, who made him doubt his worth. Not me. Gloria recoiled as if struck. For a moment, there was a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by a dangerous resolve. She wasn't used to losing, and she wasn't going to accept it now. I'll fight this, she hissed. I'll take you to court, and I'll make sure this will is invalid. You think you can just walk away with everything he worked for? Think again. Eva's heart pounded, but she refused to show any sign of fear. This was the moment she had been preparing for, the moment she would stand her ground and not let Gloria control her, not anymore. The lawyer looked at Gloria, his expression unreadable. Mrs. Caldwell, you are welcome to contest the will, but I assure you, Lucas took every measure to ensure that this will is ironclad. Any attempt to challenge it would be a waste of time and money. Gloria's face turned a shade paler at the lawyer's words, but the fury in her eyes didn't waver. She turned toward Eva, her glare filled with hatred. You'll regret this. I'll make sure you pay for what you've done. Eva didn't flinch. She stood tall, her resolve growing with every word Gloria spoke. You can try, Gloria, but it's over. Lucas made his decision, and I will make sure it's honored. Gloria's eyes narrowed into slits, but instead of responding, she stormed out of the office, her heels clicking sharply against the floor, each step a testament to her frustration. The door slammed behind her with a force that rattled the room, and for a moment, the silence felt almost deafening. Eva let out a slow breath, her shoulders sagging as the adrenaline slowly began to ebb. She had stood her ground, but she knew this wasn't the last time she'd hear from Gloria. The battle was just beginning, but for the first time, Eva felt like she had the upper hand. Lucas's words, his final act of defiance, had given her something she hadn't had before, confidence. And no matter what Gloria threw her way, she was ready. As the lawyer gathered his papers, he gave Eva a reassuring look. "Don't worry, Mrs. Caldwell. This will hold up in court." Lucas was thorough, and he made sure everything was in place. Eva nodded, but her thoughts were already racing. Gloria wouldn't back down so easily, and Eva knew that this was just the start of a much longer fight. But now, she wasn't fighting alone. She had Lucas's final words, and that was something Gloria couldn't take away. The storm had passed for now, but Eva knew that the real battle was only just beginning. The days that followed were a quiet kind of tension, the kind that sat heavily in the pit of Eva's stomach, making it hard to breathe, hard to think. Gloria had left the lawyer's office with fire in her eyes, but what happened next was worse than Eva could have ever imagined. Gloria's retaliation wasn't immediate, no. It was subtle, a slow-burning campaign of intimidation designed to unsettle her, to remind Eva that she was still very much in control, or at least, that's what Gloria wanted her to believe. It started small, barely noticeable at first. Eva would find the front door slightly ajar when she came home, a soft breeze curling through the hall as if someone had been there. But no one was ever around. The first time it happened, she brushed it off, assuming she'd just forgotten to lock it properly. But it kept happening. Every few days, the door would be unlocked, just enough for Eva to notice, but not enough for her to feel safe enough to confront it. Then came the strange calls. At first, there was nothing unusual about them. Just a brief ringing, and when she picked up, no one would speak. The line would be dead, and Eva would be left standing there, her heart racing for reasons she couldn't quite explain. But the silence of it was worse than any words Gloria could have spoken. It was as if Gloria was hovering just on the other side of the line, waiting for Eva to flinch, to react. And that's exactly what Eva did. She waited, breath held, tension crawling through her veins every time the phone rang. Things escalated when Eva started finding strange notes on her doorstep. At first, they were just cryptic messages, written on plain paper in a hurried hand. "You can't hide forever. You'll regret this." The words were innocuous enough, but they carried with them an unmistakable weight, a threat veiled behind an innocent message. Eva felt herself grow more vigilant with each passing day. She began checking the locks on every door, double and triple checking windows before she went to bed. The sense of unease was constant, like a shadow she could never escape. It wasn't just at her home, though. The tension seeped into her daily life. One afternoon, Eva was walking through the local grocery store when she saw her, Gloria, standing near the checkout, watching her with that same cold, calculating stare. Eva's breath caught in her throat, but she didn't break her stride. Gloria's eyes narrowed, a smirk curling at the edges of her lips. "I hope you're enjoying what's mine," Gloria said, loud enough for the people nearby to hear. The words dripped with poison, and even though Eva stood tall, her heart pounded in her chest. She wanted to confront Gloria, to call her out, but she knew that would be exactly what Gloria wanted, a public scene, an excuse to turn everything into a spectacle. Days turned into weeks, and the harassment grew more blatant. One morning, Eva came outside to find her car's tires slashed, the smooth rubber now a shredded mess. Her blood ran cold as she stood there, staring at the damage. There was no note this time, no cryptic message, just the damage, a clear indication of someone's intent to send a message. Eva felt her resolve falter for a brief moment, but then she remembered Lucas's words, his final act of defiance. She wouldn't let Gloria win. Not now, not ever. By the time the first major confrontation happened, Eva had already changed. The woman who had once lived in the shadow of Gloria's manipulation was now ready to fight back, ready to protect everything Lucas had left her. The harassment had worn her down, but it had also built something inside her, a strength she hadn't known she had. She was in her kitchen one morning, sipping her coffee, when she noticed something through the window, Gloria, standing across the street, watching her. It wasn't the first time, but it was the first time Eva felt a sense of clarity. This had gone on long enough. She would confront Gloria now, before it got any worse. Eva grabbed her phone, her fingers steady as she dialed the lawyer's number. The call connected on the second ring. "I need your help," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "It's starting again, and this time, I need to make sure it ends." As she set the phone down and turned back toward the window, she felt a wave of determination wash over her. Gloria had pushed her too far, but now Eva was ready to take control. No more fear. No more waiting. Gloria had underestimated her, but Eva was done being a victim. It was time to make sure the past was truly behind her. And this time, Gloria would be the one who had to face the consequences of her actions. Eva walked to the door and locked it behind her, her mind already racing with plans and possibilities. She wasn't going to let Gloria dictate her life any longer. The first move had been made, but now it was time to make sure Gloria knew that Eva was no longer the easy target she had once been. The game had changed. And this time Eva was in control. Eva's heart sank as she pulled into her driveway. The front door was wide open. Her breath caught in her throat as she rushed inside. The house, her sanctuary, was in ruins. Furniture was overturned, cushions ripped, and glass from broken picture frames scattered across the floor. Her pulse quickened as she moved through the wreckage, the destruction personal, like someone had taken pleasure in tearing apart everything she loved. But there were no signs of forced entry. Whoever did this had known exactly how to get in. She stepped back outside, trembling. Her phone vibrated, and she answered without checking the number. "You've made a big mistake, Eva," came Gloria's voice, ice cold. "I'm just getting started." Eva's blood turned to ice. "Gloria, stop this," she said, trying to stay calm, but her voice wavered. "This has gone too far." "Oh, Eva," Gloria's voice dripped with malice. "This is just the beginning. You think you've won? I'll destroy everything you love." The line went dead. Eva stood frozen, her phone in hand, fear and anger battling inside her. Gloria wasn't just threatening her, she was making good on her promises. But Eva wasn't going to let Gloria win. She would fight back. And this time, she wouldn't back down. The next morning, Eva stood in her living room, still shaken by Gloria's threats. She needed something more, something that would stop Gloria for good. Then the lawyer's call came. "Eva, it's time," he said. Lucas made a video before he passed. He wanted to make sure his wishes were clear. Eva arrived at the lawyer's office, her heart racing. The lawyer handed her the video, and as she watched, Lucas's voice filled the room. "If you're watching this, Gloria, it means you're trying to take what isn't yours," Lucas began. "You've spent my whole life trying to control me, and now you're trying to steal everything I've worked for. You won't succeed. I know what you've been doing, stealing from my father's estate, but I've gathered proof." Eva's chest tightened as Lucas continued, his voice strong even in death. "Everything I've built is for Eva. Not because of money, but because she's the only one who truly loved me for who I am." The weight of his words hit Eva hard. She had always doubted her place in his life, but now, it was clear. Lucas had chosen her, even after death. Gloria had nothing left. "I've left you nothing, Gloria," Lucas's final words rang out. "Eva gets everything because she stood by me. You've lost your control over me." The video ended, and silence filled the room. Eva wiped away the tears, but now there was only peace. The truth was out, and Gloria couldn't undo it. "I'm ready," Eva said, her voice steady. "Let's end this." The lawyer nodded. With Lucas's final message in hand, Eva was ready to face Gloria, and this time, she couldn't lose. The legal battle began almost immediately after Lucas's video was revealed. Gloria, now backed into a corner, came out swinging with accusations that Eva had somehow manipulated Lucas during his illness. She claimed the will was invalid, that Lucas wasn't in his right mind when he made it. Gloria fought with the desperation of a woman who had lost everything. The courtroom was a battleground. Gloria, now fully embracing her role as the victim, sobbed on the stand, claiming that her son had been brainwashed by Eva, that he had been too ill to make such a decision. She painted herself as a loving mother, betrayed and cast aside in favor of a gold-digging wife. Her tears were dramatic, her words laced with venom as she tried to turn the jury against Eva. Eva sat through it all, her hands clenched tightly in her lap, the weight of Gloria's lies pressing down on her. But she stayed silent. The truth, backed by the video, was all the proof she needed. The lawyer, calm and collected, dismantled every argument Gloria presented. He presented the video, Lucas's words echoing through the room, clear and unwavering. There was no question about Lucas's state of mind. He had known exactly what he was doing when he made his final decision. Gloria's desperation grew with each passing day. She accused Eva of isolating Lucas, of manipulating his final moments, but the evidence didn't support her claims. The more she fought, the more her lies unraveled. The courtroom began to see her for what she was, nothing more than a woman desperate to cling to a power she had long since lost. But Eva remained calm, unwavering. She had always known this moment would come, but she hadn't been prepared for the sheer bitterness in Gloria's eyes. There was no room for empathy now, no sign of the woman who had once been Lucas's mother. Gloria had become a stranger, consumed by greed and jealousy. As the trial drew to a close, the final blow came. The judge, after considering all the evidence, ruled that Lucas's will was valid, and that Gloria would receive nothing. The victory was sweet, but it felt hollow. Eva had won, yes, but the emotional toll of the battle left her drained. Gloria stood in the courtroom, her face twisted in fury. "This isn't over," she hissed under her breath, her eyes burning with hatred. "You'll regret this, Eva." But Eva was no longer afraid. She had faced the worst, and she had come out victorious. "It's over, Gloria," she said quietly, the words sharp and final. As she walked out of the courtroom, a sense of relief washed over her. The battle had been long and grueling, but now it was done. She had fought for her place in Lucas's life, for her future, and for the truth. And in the end, that was all that mattered. The ruling was final. Eva had won. The court had validated Lucas's will, and Gloria was left with nothing. It should have been the end of a long, exhausting battle, but deep down, Eva knew it wasn't over. Gloria's fury would not fade easily. Days later, Eva's phone rang. It was Gloria. "You think you've won?" Gloria's voice oozed venom. "You'll never have peace." "I'll make sure of it." Eva remained calm. "I've already won, Gloria. You have nothing left." There was silence before Gloria hissed, "Maybe I've lost, but I'll make sure you lose everything else." The call ended. Eva's heart raced, but she refused to let Gloria's threats control her. Soon after, Eva was contacted by the authorities. Gloria had been implicated in a broader criminal scheme involving money laundering and fraud. The truth was out. Gloria's manipulation had gone much further than Eva had ever known, and now, the law was catching up with her. Weeks later, Gloria was arrested. The woman who had caused so much pain was finally facing the consequences of her actions. Eva watched as Gloria's empire of lies crumbled, and for the first time in years, she felt free. Eva had fought, endured, and emerged victorious. Gloria's arrest marked the end of her reign of terror, and Eva could finally move forward, knowing that justice had been served. The peace she had longed for was now within her reach.